bitch, you know? It's really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal... Yes, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again.
Anything to talk about. Kimmel was given each one of them was given a reset except for Seth. I didn't even know he was still on the air.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did. Everyone's watching Forensic Files.
Yes.
No one's watching Seth.
One of the greatest shows ever.
Yeah, but these guys, they had opportunities to reset. Kimmel could have came back and tried to be funny again, or bring guests again, or show any kind of change, but they're really going to ride this out to the last drop. What are they going to do when he's gone?
Tyrus just did the unimaginable. He went straight after Jimmy Kimmel, and now Hollywood's gasping in disbelief. The so-called king of late night might be tossing and turning tonight because this showdown is pure chaos on fire. It's the clash no one expected, but everyone can't stop watching. The powerhouse turned comedian throwing verbal grenades at the man who laughs hardest at his own jokes. You can practically feel the tension sparking, like a brawl of words about to blow the roof clean off. What did Kimmel do to spark this kind of fury? And why does Tyrus sound ready to take on all of Hollywood in one swing?
It's not the party. It's not the majority. It's the loud voices that scare people from saying what they believe and make you think twice about a joke or whatever, these things. And, a lot of their points are valid, but a lot of them are also just repulsive. And I mean, they repel people from, they go like, oh, you're no fun. I don't want to be around you.
Tyrus has done it once more. He's turned his words into pure power. The man who once slammed opponents in the ring now delivers verbal strikes that hit just as hard. It's like WrestleMania Reborn, except the weapons are microphones instead of muscles. Every line lands like a knockout punch, and his latest target isn't some loud showboat in spandex. It's something much more delicate. Tyrus traded ropes for a spotlight, yet he still shakes the ground beneath him. His evolution from fighter to truth slinger feels unstoppable, like a storm ripping through late-night TV.
Are they going to be with Rosie O'Donnell in a 4-way Zoom podcast about Trump ruining their life still?
I'm glad you didn't stop at 4-way. Although in my head I can see
it. Oh, come on, man. My mouth was open.
And who's daring to face him this time? None other than Jimmy Kimmel, Hollywood's self-crowned prince of late night. The man who hides behind cue cards like shields and confuses moral lectures for comedy gold. Kimmel, the jester who made a career mocking others, is now stuck in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. He's used to throwing the jokes, not being the punchline. But now, the stage has flipped, and every lens is fixed right on him. The contrast is electric. One man earned his scars in the chaos of the ring, the other in the comfort of applause. And that comfort, it's starting to crumble.
Mamas, I have one ex-wife. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, you tell
I had some scruples. Okay. I'll have one night stands, but I will not marry people I don't love. Okay. There's certain lines there.
You can't teach this cracker that.
I really think if they're going to continue to do a podcast, they need to bring their writers in.
Ooh.
Because that was brutal.
Terrible. They're out of touch.
It's like listening to two billionaires complaining about no one had change for their $100 bill at McDonald's.
And somehow, this clash feels wildly one-sided. On one end stands Tyrus, a powerhouse molded by grit and real experience, carrying that calm confidence that only comes from surviving real chaos. From locker rooms to live studios, he's battled storms most couldn't endure and came out stronger every time. And on the other, Jimmy Kimmel, the man who once cried on live TV and called it journalism. It's a total mismatch, raw strength versus polished ego. You can feel the uneven energy, like a heavyweight stepping into the ring against a monologue. Tyrus radiates toughness, truth, and reality, the kind that can't be staged under perfect lighting. Meanwhile, Kimmel hides behind makeup, applause signs, and moral speeches that sound wise, until you actually listen.
They're like three ex-lovers.
Yes.
Who just found out about each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all getting together to talk about the man they all still love.
Right.
And they're just sizing each other up, trying to figure out which one of us has the best shot to get back with him.
Yes.
They all get together, they compare notes, and they tell each other, yeah, you should never mention his name again. You should never mention his name again. You should never. Does he call you? Doesn't call me? He texted me last week. Oh, so I'm still in the game. That's all this was. And that's why nobody cared.
The internet caught the scent of chaos from miles away. This wasn't going to be a polite argument, it was an all-out war. Fans swarmed like sharks long before the first punchline even dropped. This wasn't just two entertainers clashing, it was a heavyweight battle where gloves were off and the crowd demanded drama. Memes erupted across timelines, hashtags flared like fireworks, and social media split into rival camps overnight. It felt less like a feud and more like a full-blown event. A roast without laughs, a cage match without ropes. The tension pulsed like a rhythm. The madness had momentum. Every post, every tweet poured gasoline on the blaze. People didn't just watch, they joined in. They wanted Kimmel to stumble and Tyrus to roar. This had evolved far past comedy. It was a digital spectacle, and the internet had front row seats to the storm. The sides were chosen, and no one dared look away.
So annoyed. All I had was a crisp 100. They had no change. I was like, what is this world coming to? That's why I'm moving to Italy, girl. I know, me too.
Greg.
Like, it's just.
Can I say something, Greg?
Crossing guard goes, yeah.
How did you feel watching Kimmel cry?
One of his tears fell out. Hold on. You know, it's funny how this derangement's working, because it only seems to work if you have a camera in front of you.
Then Kimmel made his grand entrance, dripping with Hollywood swagger and armed with a teleprompter stacked full of one-liners his writers probably lifted from online leftovers. He was ready to laugh at everything, except himself. The act was the same as always, that smug grin, that too cool to care vibe, and a crowd clapping on cue like trained musicians. But just as he slipped into his comfort zone, in stormed Tyrus. No script, no filter, no backup plan. He didn't need studio lights or cue cards. He came armed with grit, truth, and a verbal steel chair, ready to smash through Hollywood's shiny shell. And when it landed, you could almost hear the echo, egos cracking from Los Angeles all the way to Twitter. Tyrus didn't just call Kimmel out, he tore down the illusion. The relatable everyman image shattered, exposing a performer who hasn't known reality since gas was cheaper than coffee. Kimmel's moral mockery collapsed under the weight of Tyrus's authenticity. This wasn't rebellion, it was revelation, and Tyrus made sure no one could unsee it.
Cares about the ex-wife's club.
Yeah.
You know, they just sit around, be funny, or they're setting up for when they're all canceled, their tour, their three-man show.
Yes.
Come watch us say how much we hate the president. The funniest thing about this whole thing is they act like he got into the White House, and right as he got in, he's like, your list that you wrote for him, for people to go get. It's like ICE. Here they are. Go round them up. No one gives a frog's fat ass what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if they did, they would have stopped that podcast immediately.
Right. Yes,
that's right. 100%.
Tyrus sliced straight through Hollywood's glitter and called it exactly what it is. He wasn't chasing fame. He was demanding honesty. Finally, someone said what so many have been thinking. Kimmel's idea of punching up is really just mocking everyday people from behind studio lights. Picture it. Kimmel, sipping overpriced wine on a set paid for by sponsors who still think TikTok is revolutionary, pretending to speak for the people. Tyrus's words struck deep because they came from truth, from a man who clawed his way up through grit, silence, and relentless willpower before earning a platform. He didn't get fame or virtue handed to him. He fought for both. Suddenly, Kimmel's man of the people act looked paper thin, flimsy, fake, and fading fast. The illusion shattered the moment someone real pushed back. It's almost poetic. The same guy who once pranked strangers can't handle a little truth from a cable commentator. The irony screams louder than his monologues. And this time, the joke's on him.
I expected to walk into work, stepping over, crying, to your credit, libtards.
Yes.
Like, oh, excuse me, up tear.
Yes.
There we go. But it wasn't. Everybody went back to their lives.
Yeah.
So apparently the only way this heartbreak works is if you film it or force someone else to film it.
Right.
But to your point about Carson, we never knew his political affiliation because he was there to make everyone laugh. All the late night shows were.
And then the fans went absolutely wild. Social media erupted into a digital arena. One side chanting Tyrus's name like he'd body slammed Hollywood itself. The other scrambling to defend Kimmel by digging up old clips of when he was supposedly funny. Spoiler alert, there weren't many. But this went far beyond two stars trading blows. It became a cultural earthquake. The echo chamber of Hollywood pride had just been cracked open by someone who refused to play by its polished rules. Tyrus practically grabbed Late Night by the collar and growled, "Try laughing at yourself for once." And for Kimmel, that's like asking a cat to surf. The cheers weren't fueled by hate, they came from awakening. Tyrus didn't just roast a comedian, he exposed a cycle. The man who once mocked the powerful had become one of them, standing tall on a stage built from jokes about people he no longer understood. And that moral compass? It seems to spin wherever the next sponsor's checkpoints.
One clown went all in on ignoring reality and blames MAGA.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So MAGA is desperately trying to portray Kirk's killer as not one of them. If that man was any more full of shit, he'd be a colostomy bag. That was 2 days ago, so Kimmel had the chance to walk it back, but he can't. And why?
By now, even Hollywood had to admit, Tyrus might have been right all along. It was like watching the class clown realize the punchline had turned on him. For years, Kimmel thrived inside his shiny bubble, soaking in applause more artificial than his spray tan. But when Tyrus called him out, no applause sign was big enough to hide the truth. Fans started comparing Kimmel's scripted comfort zone to Tyrus's raw, off-the-cuff fire. And the difference was brutal. Some even joked, "Hey Jimmy, maybe try laughing more and preaching less." The internet smelled weakness, and that was all it needed. Memes poured down faster than any punchline Kimmel's delivered in years. Tyrus didn't just win the moment, he seized the whole story. Soon Kimmel's defenders were scrambling, calling Tyrus bitter. Bitter? Not even close. Pointing out that the emperor's out of jokes isn't bitterness, it's clarity. Kimmel's been recycling punchlines like old receipts, and the audience finally stopped pretending they're new.
Them should be fired because it was such a big murderous election on one side that it should have been a reset. Because when it happened in 20, when he lost and Biden got in, I don't remember us doing an episode on coping skills. There was no line in the audience where I was like, "Thank you for coming. Thank you. We just like, well, let's keep going." And I believe we made fun of the situation and ourselves. So I always tell people, try to be the bigger man, which is ironic. But in this case, because the poor sportsmanship is coming from TV, normally I would say you can have one lap and smell your flowers, but go ahead and take 4.
The most ironic twist, this feud ripped away the mask covering that thin, fragile line between comedy and activism. Kimmel's been dancing on that edge for years, pretending his jokes change the world, when really they just change his ratings. Then Tyrus stepped up and said what everyone's been thinking: "You're not a hero, you're just performing for applause." And suddenly, the internet turned it into a battle for the soul of comedy. It wasn't just Tyrus versus Kimmel anymore. It was real humor versus moral lectures dressed as punchlines. On one side stood Hollywood's elite, clutching their virtue like trophies. On the other, everyday people who just want to laugh without being preached to. Tyrus became their voice. Bold, raw, and fearless. His message hit hard. Comedy should sting with truth, not drown in comfort. The crowd agreed. The numbers told the story. People are done with polished outrage and empty virtue signaling. They crave honesty even when it burns. And that's what shakes Hollywood to its core. Someone refusing to play by its rules. Tyrus doesn't chase approval or polish his image for cheers, and that's why he wins effortlessly. Kimmel, on the other hand, lives for validation. Every grin, every scripted zinger built to keep him adored. But Tyrus, he feeds on truth, not applause. Instead of learning from the hit, Kimmel poured gasoline on the flames, pretending it was grace. He tried to play it cool with shaky smiles and fake composure, but everyone saw through the act. The truth hits hardest when it's wrapped in a punchline sharper than ratings charts. Even neutral viewers began to notice. Every Kimmel comeback felt more rehearsed, more desperate. Meanwhile, Tyrus reminded the world what comedy used to be: bold, fearless, unfiltered. It wasn't meant to soothe, it was meant to make people think. Watching Tyrus tear down Kimmel's moral pedestal felt like cutting power in a room full of fake light. Suddenly the laughter felt real again, and Kimmel's act dimmer than ever.